I've got Mark Kaylor on the telephone from California. We've got Errol Christie in the studio here. And we're talking about their fight on the 5th of November in 1985. And I'm joined now by Dean Powell. Now, he was a fan on the night, and he later went on and worked with Kaylor at the end of Mark's career. He's also Frank Warren's right-hand man now. And in a recent Boxing Monthly poll, he came in at number 12 in a list of 25 most important men in British boxing. That's not bad anyway, Dino. You're here. Dean, we're moving on. I'm going to have to put Jimmy Mack after the news. What's your memories of the night, the fight itself, before you talk about the two fights? What's your memories of the night?
Well, it was a great build-up, as we know everybody said in the press and on the television. And, you know, at home, living back in the Midlands at the time, you know, watching Mark fight on the BBC and Errol fight on ITV, it was a massive build-up in the press. And I can actually remember sitting in my bedroom listening to the fight on the radio, which was absolutely fantastic.
Ian Dark doing a commentary.
Amazing, and you know, the firework going off, and you know, all the hype, and a really
I forgot about the firework.
A really exciting event, you know.
But you knew Errol before you knew Mark, even though you ended up working with Jimmy Tibbs and Mark at the end of Mark's career. But you knew Errol first. Yeah,
it was a strange story, really. When I first moved to London in sort of the last quarter of 1988, and I lived in the Thomas à Becket and ran the gym there. And
lived on the floor in the Thomas à Becket, not in some luxurious room above it. Let's get that straight. You lived in the changing room.
And the first day that I was there on the Monday, Errol actually came in the gym with his trainer at the time, Don Davis, and it was quite a big thing to meet Errol Christie. And you know, the big thing I learned was, there was two things I learned about him. Was, you know, what a great fighter he was. Watching him in the gym was amazing. I mean, I remember one particular Friday afternoon, he sparred with Chris Eubanks, and I've said this many times, and everybody in the gym, boxers, trainers, managers, agents, stopped and stood round the ring and watched the sparring. It was unbelievable.
Now, what we've done tonight, Dean, is we've got the pair of them to shake hands basically over the airwaves, not with gritted teeth. They both smiled and they both said hello, and they both said how much respect they got for each other. So it seems to me, can we go on from here? Can we, you know, you speak to Mark regularly in Chino, Mark who's waiting patiently on the line still in California.
Yeah.
Errol's here. Can we take it further than this? Can we now bring them at some point face to face somewhere?
Yeah, I think what we need to do, Steve, we need to, in the early part of next year, we need to look at the possibilities of getting Mark over. Mark and I have spoke about this, and his wife Pat, Errol and myself and Tony, his unpaid agent, as he calls himself.
Yeah.
As we've also spoke about this, and I think it would be, you know, a great week of events. You know, a London event, a Coventry event, maybe somewhere else, and I think we could have a great time with it.
In Cascadoo Security. Dino, stay there. Mark, you heard Dean talking there. You've been talking to me. You've been talking to Errol. You heard at Cass Pennant. I'm sure that brought back a few ideas. When are you due back in? When might you be visiting London again, Mark?
Well, if you want me to come back, I'd rather fight 10 rounds with Errol rather than 12.
Yeah, this time we do it over 10, not over 12.
Yeah, 10 rounds would suit me more, yeah.
Yeah.
I train 11 hours a week, and I'm ready now as a...
Well, Mark, let me ask you this. What weight are you now?
I weigh 190 pounds of muscle. I don't have an ounce of fat on me, and I'm ready to go.
All right, let me ask you, Errol, how much do you weigh now?
I'm 92.
Listen, I'm going to tell you this now. I'm going to state it on fact here. I'm not letting either of you two anywhere near a boxing ring. And if you do anything touring next year, I'm not even going to have a boxing ring in the vicinity of you two. I'm going to have a table with bow ties and people smiling, clapping your hands, shaking your hands, and putting a nice few quid in your pockets.
I think I misunderstood why you wanted me to come back.
Mark, let me ask you this before I let you go, and thanks for your time, your time tonight. Looking back on that night, Mark, and obviously, you know, Errol might not like hearing this, but just go through to me what it must have been like that after Errol's counted out, and you jump up on that rope, and Terry Lawless and Jimmy Tibbs are desperately trying to drag you off that rope. What was going through your head in that 10 seconds, Mark? Did you feel that was it? That was your world title, even though it was only a British eliminator?
Well, like I say, I was mad because of the years and months before when Errol kept saying how much what he was going to do to me.
Sure.
So that's why I was showing off, and I'm sorry about it. I'm a little bit embarrassed about it now, but
Mark, listen, it's the emotion and the passion and the atmosphere. Listen, Mark, thanks so much for your time tonight. It's been a pleasure, and I'll do everything to try and put you two of you together next year. Mark, Kaylor Errol, let me ask you, okay? You had some problems. You started to discover that your legs weren't doing, and that's why it's been your brilliant book, No Place to Hide, which is a sensational book, which was long-listed for the William Hill, didn't get shortlisted, which is a disgrace. It should have won it. Errol, let me ask you, after that fight, you fought on, but what went through your head when you got back to the changing room that night? Did you think it was all over, or were you more determined to continue?
I mean, I was a fighter. I was gutted that I lost the fight. It was a fight that I didn't want to lose. I mean, because even though we had that fight with the Kaylor fight, it was just part of what was going on in my life at the time.
Yeah.
My life was one big fight, and it was one fight that was over, and I lost it, and I lost gracefully. You know, I lost. He was a better man than the night.
Great stuff.
That was it. You know, I'm a fighting man. I fought for my country. I've done all my fighting, and I got beat.
Errol Christie there, the author of Errol Christie, No Place to Hide. No place to run, isn't it? No place to run. No place to hide. No place to hide. How I put the black back in the Union Jack. And the intro.
Fought for my country.
And the intro to that book is absolutely
never lost a fight for my country.
Sensational. Now, Dino, just quickly, give me a timescale for potentially getting these two together. What are we talking? March, April, May next year?
Yeah, do you know what? I think get Christmas out of the way, and we would love to do something late March, early April. I think there'd be a lot of interest, and I think we should really do it and get these guys back into the public eye, because they both deserve it.
And I think so too. You've been listening to Errol Christie, Mark Kaylor, Steve Bunce, Dean Powell and Cass Pennant talking about Bonfire Night 1985 and one of the greatest grudge matches in British boxing history. Jimmy McDonald was actually top of the bill, and we'll speak to Jim in a few minutes. Now, I should have devoted an hour to the Mark Kaylor Errol Christie fight. I didn't. I made a mistake. Now, the top of the bill on that particular night, on the 5th of November 1985, was Camden caretaker Jim McDonald in the European title fight, which he thankfully won. I'm going to talk to Jim a bit about that night, and then also a little bit about the December fight for his new charge, James DeGale. Jimbo!
Hello, Steve. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I just brought Christie and Kaylor together for the first time, talking over the telephone.
You're joking?
No, I had Christie in the studio and Kaylor out in California, and Mark apologised for his behaviour.
Oh.
And Errol accepted it, and they both exchanged respect with each other, and we're going to get them together face to face next year.
Oh, that is absolutely fantastic. That is quality. I'm so pleased with that, because I spoke to Mark Kaylor like a couple of weeks ago on the phone.
Yeah.
And he said, if you're ever out this way, like, we'll catch up. So it's great to hear that, Steve. Absolutely fantastic. Because Errol was a good friend of mine as well. That's great to hear.
Jimmy, let me ask you about the night, okay, and what it was like backstage.
Well, interesting enough for me, it's one of the things that I remember for a lot of reasons. The main reason, obviously, becoming European champion. But on the night, I remember Terry Lawless, God rest his soul.
Yep.
The late Terry Lawless.
Yep.
I remember him being in my changing room, and obviously it was a night with Mark Kaylor, we just spoke about, and obviously Frank Bruno, both want to forget.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I was in the changing room warming up, because I was fighting for the European title, obviously, and you know, boxing a very live opponent. I just remember, like, there was three of us in the changing room. It was me, Frank Bruno, and Mark Kaylor, and both them guys had come in and both been like basically
mullered.
Chopped down, mullered, call it what you want, but like defeated in style.
Yeah.
And Terry come in, Terry Lawless, and he said there and then, like, I was going out for my fight, and he went, listen, I can't be doing this no more. And he sat on the side of the thing, there was tears in his eyes, the emotions had got to him, seeing Bruno, and he said, that's it, I'm retiring. And it was a weird feeling, because I was going out for my fight, and Jimmy Tibbs put his arm around me, and Frank Black, God rest his soul, and they walked out with me and said, come on, get your head right, la la la. And I went out there and took care of business. And it was funny, because obviously that had come and gone, and Terry didn't walk away from the sport. He had many great years in it after that. But I always remember him saying to me, that the night I knew that you was going to make it and you was going to go right to the very top of the sport, he goes, was that night? He goes, your mental gym. He goes, I remember Mark got knocked out, carried him in, Bruno got knocked out, carried him in. You never even looked at the mirror. You were shadowboxing. You never asked how they were. He said you were so focused on yourself. He said, no, I knew from that moment you was a bit different and that you was going to do what you'd done. So I said, that's my fondest memory of that great night when I won the European title.
Jimmy, let's draw a line under that and we just talk briefly about James DeGale's preparation for Paul Smith. It is a big test after so few fights in Paul Smith's backyard. How's James? I mean, I know his attitude's great. No difference in his training. He's just doing what he's doing.
No,
everything on course.
I'll be lying if I say that. He's actually sitting here with me right now. He's sitting opposite me. He's at my house now. He's trained today. If I told you what he'd done today, you'd be doing somersaults in your armchair.
Really?
Yeah, he's done a 30-round workout today. I'm serious. I'm being 100% serious. He's in. For me, since he's turned professional, as people will see when he strips off on the scales, it's the best shape I've seen him in. Mentally, I've never seen him so attuned as a professional, and I'm looking forward, and I'll go out on record and say to the best performance so far of James' short career as a professional.
Jim,
he's looking good.
You can't ask any more than that. Jim McDonald, who was top of the bill the night that Mark Kaylor beat Errol Christie. We were talking about that earlier on.